this is how it was when we saw the Pope, and we were on that screen, bro.
Really?
We were on that screen.
Friends, family, faculty, graduates, and business economics majors. Welcome to class day. After so much and so long, we are finally back together in one place and right where we began our journey together. And congratulations to the class of 2022. We've done it. My name is Alan Abbott, and I am the undergraduate student president, and tomorrow I will graduate alongside all of you with a bachelor's in law, letters, and society in East Asian languages and civilizations, and a master's in international relations. It is my special honor to kick off our graduation weekend by introducing Class Day 2022. Class Day is a celebration of us, the class of 2022. Everything we have accomplished at UChicago, everything we have learned and experienced, and everything that we have endured and survived these past 4 years. We've been through a lot together. Over half of our time at UChicago was affected by the pandemic, but we came together as a class, as friends, student leaders, mutual aid organizers, just as we have come together today, and just as we did 4 years ago to begin our journey together. Remember when we survived a polar vortex our first year and that was our biggest problem? We may have experienced the last snow day at UChicago now that they've discovered Zoom. Fast forward now, and here we are as fourth years, celebrating our accomplishments. Today's program will include reflections from student speakers. It will include recognition of inspiring teachers, two of whom I've had the personal pleasure to learn from while at UChicago. And it will include insights from our esteemed keynote speaker, Samira Ahmed, a class of 1993 graduate of the college. So I'd like to start today's celebration by introducing our three student speakers. First, we'll have David Liang. David is an international student from Hong Kong, China, majoring in economics and political science. David has served along with me in student government for the past 4 years, most recently as the undergraduate liaison to the Board of Trustees. David is the president of a student-run venture capital fund and founded 2 think tanks that produce research on campus policy and entrepreneurship-related topics. Next to speak will be Zara Malik. Zara is a psychology major from New York City. She helped develop the Women's Leadership Program, a new initiative in the college that encourages reflection and development of self-advocacy and leadership skills. Zara has also served on the Wellness Advisory Board since her first year, where she has helped plan a series of events to encourage students to take a break and connect with others. And finally, we will hear from Allison Matasic. Allison is a psychology and business economics double major from Westfield, New Jersey. Apart from walking backwards while giving tours of campus, Allison has worked as a research assistant at the Center for Decision Research, volunteered as a supporter for the mental health support text line Lean On Me, and dabbled in jazz dance through Rhythmic Bodies in Motion. She has also written and performed in staged readings through University Theater. Now please join me in welcoming our first student speaker to the stage, David Liang.
Thank you so much, Alan, for that incredibly generous introduction. And some of you guys may know me as David from Hong Kong, and don't worry, I'm not here to ask for your vote today. 2 years ago, when the Maroon, not the university, first broke the news that we will be transitioning to online classes in the spring of 2020, I thought to myself, that's it. There goes the rest of my college, and here comes the most expensive online university in the history of higher education. Leaving the United States during the onset of the pandemic, I did not imagine I would be able to return to Hyde Park and celebrate graduation with you all. Yet here we are today. As the first class to graduate when a sense of quote-unquote normalcy is restored, at least in this part of the world, thanks to mass vaccination and effective therapeutics, our class is anything but just another graduating class. The class of 2022 is an embodiment of both the spirit of our generation, that of nonconformity, resilience, and boundless creativity, as well as the hopes and optimisms of all generations before and after us. We, along with the rest of humanity, are taking a massive leap out of the shadow that is COVID-19, not into some utopia, but into a world of even greater uncertainty. Make no mistake, we are living through an extraordinary time. The threat of great power war, something we have only learned through our first-year Hume class, and perhaps through Professor Mearsheimer's viral TikTok videos, are now as real as it can ever be. The climate catastrophe looms beyond the deadline of 2050, just in time for our midlife crises. And don't even get me started on the roaring inflation, the pending recession, and the crypto market crash. There goes all my savings, and that of my roommates too. Yet I scrolled through the news this morning. What I felt deep within myself was not fear or anxiety, but a deep and genuine sense of thrill and optimism. And let me be clear, it's not a feeling of masochism or schadenfreude. It is a feeling of optimism derived from the knowledge that there exists attainable solutions to even the most challenging problems of our time. Although I might not be personally able to find a solution to all of the problems out there, our class, you and I, together, we have the collective emotional and intellectual wherewithal to answer those challenges if we so choose. And that's what 4 years at UChicago has taught me. It's a capacity when faced with uncertainty to transform fear into optimism and anxiety into creativity. Look around. By the virtue of us being here today, all of us have demonstrated an awesome capacity to transform fear into optimism. We did not waver when the transition to online classes deprived us of a year from the community we have come to love, nor did we quit when the already fast-paced 10-week quarter got shortened to 9 abruptly without much justification, if I may add. When given lemon, we made lemonade, and that's what our class is all about. As we venture into the quote-unquote real world, and indeed a much troubled world, I call on all of us, graduates of the class of 2022, to bring with you that awesome capacity to transform fear into optimism, come what may, and rise to answer the challenges that will come to define all of our lives. That, above all, is our calling. So wish us luck. Thank you.
Do you remember that day in high school when you and your peers proudly showed off your university gear? At my school, I noticed that the students attending the same university had similar personalities, extracurriculars, and career goals. But the four of us going to UChicago were very different from one another. Yes, we were all taking AP English as seniors, but as much as we like to mock Harvard here at UChicago, students at other schools are pretty smart too. What I want to talk to you about today is what defines a UChicago student. Whether or not there were others in your class also attending UChicago, that feeling of separation from your peers might have resonated. See, when our year applied, each dorm still maintained distinct cultures. That, along with the fact that our school doesn't have one sports team bringing everyone together, made it sometimes feel like we all lived in our own separate worlds, be it Greek life, intramurals, or various cultural clubs. So then, what was it about the four of us from my high school? What, if anything, unites our class of 2022? Over these 4 years, I've come to appreciate that you're authentic people who aren't afraid to show up in the world as yourself. I know this might sound like a cliche, but you see it everywhere around campus. It manifests as students who attend office hours, not because they're stuck on the homework, but because they're eager to learn more. It shows up when students arise before the crack of dawn, precisely for a free t-shirt, or when they unabashedly gush about their peers on UChicago crushes. Think for a moment about who in your life you credit for fostering your authenticity. For me, both my grandmothers are big role models. One is a very bubbly person. We'll be at a restaurant somewhere, and before you know it, she's befriended those at the table beside us. In doing so, my grandmother taught me you need courage to be authentic. My grandmother had no idea if those individuals would acknowledge, let alone appreciate her gesture. But she spoke up anyways, because doing so was true to her character. My other grandmother will pray for my brother and I when we have an upcoming exam. Through these actions, she showed me how authenticity and vulnerability go hand in hand. See, by giving so much of herself, my grandmother was vulnerable to feeling disappointed when my brother and I didn't call home as often as we should. Still, she kept doing what she did because for her, family made life worth living. At UChicago, we've persevered through grade deflation and those many frigid winters. We discovered that while it takes guts to stick to your beliefs, it takes even more courage to admit when you're wrong or when you've changed your mind. But most importantly, this school had us recognize the value in being our authentic selves. Just imagine for a moment what UChicago would have been like if you pretended you could accomplish everything on your own or never confess to your professors and peers when you needed their help. Once you exit Cobb Gate, however, being your authentic self will likely become harder. You may be the only female in the room, perhaps the only one who disagrees with everyone else. All the same, I urge you to not lose the resolve to put yourself out there. Class of 2022, as you celebrate today, I hope you won't just recollect your achievements at the school or marvel at the many obstacles you've had to overcome to be here. I hope you remember, too, that it was by embracing who you are that those very accomplishments became a reality. Thank you.
Find X. When I applied to UChicago, this is the prompt I responded to. I talked about how our interactions are as simple as tic-tac-toe, X's and O's. The O's are the people who are in our lives until the end. Family, friends, and close others who are and always will be there for us. Many people focus primarily on the O's in their lives and forget about the X's. However, the X's are the people that expand our lives beyond the expected. An X is created when two people's lives converge. The point of intersection could last for a few seconds or a few hours, but eventually the two paths will drift apart, unlikely to cross many times, if ever, again. Yet the impact of some of these X's lasts a lifetime. After 4 years here, I can confidently say that UChicago has some of the most unique, fascinating X's. So today, I want to highlight 3 X's I've met here who changed the way I think about the world and interact with people. The first X inspired me to actively engage with strangers. This X was a student I met during O Week in one of the Max P music rooms while my friend and I were jamming out to Careless Whisper. I was on saxophone, she was on vocals. He walked into our room and started chatting with us. He then looked at us and goes, "Give me 5 minutes, I'll be right back." Well, he came back 5 minutes later, but this time he wasn't alone. He was carrying his 35-pound tuba. He proceeded to take his tuba out of the case and jam out with us. The second X inspired me to think through various perspectives. This X was a student from my staging terror class who I ran into in Bartlett. Somehow we got into a debate about fate versus free will, during which he grabbed a napkin and, being a math major, started scribbling out sums and equations to show that something through the law of large numbers and central limit theorem, we can't have free will. In talking with him more, I realized that the way he thinks is fundamentally different from the way I think. For him, everything in the world can be thought of through a mathematical lens, whereas I often think through a more psychological or philosophical lens. Trying to think through new perspectives has been eye-opening. The third X inspired my career path. This X was an on-campus cashier I met while asking strangers, "What is your craziest memory?" for my storytelling class. Between ringing up orders, she told me about the hardships she experienced immigrating to the US and later spending time in a psychiatric ward. Talking with her reminded me how much I love hearing people's stories and made me realize that when hearing people's stories, I want to be able to help them too, which sparked my desire to pursue psychotherapy post-grad, and specifically to do so through social work, where I can simultaneously work to address macro-level issues such as those that affected this woman. Though I'm leaving UChicago, these X's will forever be a piece of me. From the Max P music man who reminds me to stop and have a conversation with a stranger, the math mastermind to think through different perspectives, and the campus cashier to share stories and approach my psychotherapy clients with care that their backgrounds may differ from my own. The people at UChicago are truly special. So as we head in different directions and we all graduate, I encourage everyone to pause for a moment and think about your X's. Think about the incredible people at UChicago who you've crossed paths with and the ways they've inspired you. And then take the initiative to actively meet new X's, using those lessons learned and those new perspectives to inspire new people, to make the world a more open and thoughtful place. It's these values that I learned from the X's that I bring to my daily life with the O's, the people who are the constants in my life, like my wonderful family who moved me in 4 years ago and now supports me here at graduation, and who looked shocked a few minutes ago because I somehow forgot to mention that I'd be speaking today. And the incredible friends I've made here who have made my life infinitely better and who I already have reserved spots for at my wedding. Unlike in a real game of tic-tac-toe, where a perfect set of all X's or all O's wins the game, UChicago has taught me that, in life, the real winners are those with a good mix of X's and O's on their board. XO, XO, Allison. Thank you. Congratulations again, class of 2022. Now please join me in welcoming our next act to the stage, a group that has been a part of Class Day since the tradition began in 2017, the Dirt Red Brass Band.
Looking back on when I was a little nappy-headed boy, and my only worry asked for Christmas what would be my toy. Even though we sometimes would not get a thing, we were happy with the joy the day would bring. Sneaking out the back door to hang out with those hoodlum friends of mine. Greeted at the back door, but boy, I thought I told you not to go outside. Try your best to bring the water to your eye, thinking it might stop her from whooping your behind. I wish those days could come back once more. Why did those days ever have to go? I wish those days could come back once more. Why did those days ever have to go? 'Cause I love them so. Brother said he's telling about you playing doctor with that girl. Just don't tell and I'll give you anything you want in this whole wide world. Mama gives you money for Sunday school. You trade yours for candy after church is through. Smoking cigarettes and writing something nasty on the wall. Teacher sends you to the principal's office down the hall. You'll grow up and learn that kind of thing ain't right. But while you were doing it, it sure fell out of sight. I wish those days could come back once more. Why did those days ever have to go? I wish those days could come back once more. Why did those days ever have to go? 'Cause I love them so.
Let's give it up one more time for Dirt Red. Hi, everyone. My name is Ellie Citron, and I'm a member of the class of 2022, graduating tomorrow with a bachelor's degree in history and human rights. I have the distinct pleasure of introducing our next guests at Class Day, our awardees from athletics. The athletics program at the University of Chicago sponsors 20 intercollegiate sports, with more than 500 participants and 330 contests taking place each year. Our Maroon athletes excel both in the classroom and in competition, consistently earning a plethora of honors every year. Throughout the university's history, its student athletes and teams have demonstrated that academic and athletic excellence can complement each other. Here today to recognize two outstanding students is Angie Terrain, Director of Athletics and Recreation. Please join me in welcoming Angie to the stage now.
Thank you. I'm honored to announce our STAG Medal and Gertrude Dudley Award. Our STAG Medal medalist is not here today, but we still want to recognize him. The winner of our Amos Alonzo STAG Medal, this medal is named after legendary football coach Amos Alonzo Stagg and has been presented annually since 1947 to the senior male athlete with the best all-around record for athletics, scholarship, and character. Nick D'Ambrose is this year's STAG Medal winner. Nick embodies perseverance, leadership, and character. He leads by example and brings a contagious energy to his teammates and those who watch him compete on the football field. Each year that he's competed at UChicago, he has added more academic and athletic accolades, with this past season being his best to date. He broke 7 school records and tied another. He was named All-American by several agencies, making him the only player in Division III to do so. A neuroscience major, Nick's academic excellence was also recognized when he earned the 2021 First Team Academic All-American status by the College Sports Information Directors of America, COSIDA. Congratulations, Nick. Now I'm honored today to announce the winner of the Gertrude Dudley Medal. This medal has been presented annually since 1977 and goes to the outstanding senior athlete for leadership and skills in women's athletics. This year's Dudley Medal goes to a track and field student athlete, Isabel Malatiche. Isabel experienced setbacks both due to illness and seasons of competition being canceled due to COVID. However, she did not let the setbacks keep her from ensuring that she was ready when it was time to compete again. As a member of the track and field team, Isabel stood out as one of the nation's best jumpers from the start of her collegiate career. In her first national meet in 2019, she captured the NCAA National Championship in the indoor long jump. She followed up in 2019 outdoor season by finishing national runner-up in the long jump. She was regularly the top jumper in the NCAA Division III on an annual basis. She will leave this university an All-American, a conference champion multiple times, an NCAA champion multiple times, and a holder of school, UAA, and NCAA records. Isabel will continue her education next year and competing at the University of North Carolina. Congrats.
Hello. Hi, everyone. My name is Mary Mouton. I'm a member of the class of 2022, graduating tomorrow with a bachelor's in history and fundamentals. I'm quite excited to introduce our next speaker, Dean John W. Boyer. For the past 30 years, John W. Boyer has been the University of Chicago's Dean of the College and Professor in the European Civilization sequence. During his tenure, Dean Boyer has been committed to broadening opportunities for students to learn inside and outside of the classroom. He is devoted to constantly improving our core curriculum, and when he's not teaching, he's helping others learn more about the surrounding Hyde Park area on his famous bike tours. Dean Boyer shows his love for learning as a historian as well. Having received his PhD from the University of Chicago, Dean Boyer specializes in the history of the Habsburg Empire. In addition, his love for UChicago shines through his 700-page volume, The History of the University of Chicago, or the University of Chicago History in 2015. Please join me in welcoming Dean Boyer.
Thanks very much, and a warm welcome to all of you. It's a great day to be here, and wonderful to see so many family members as well as students. 85 years ago, the first teaching awards in the history of the University of Chicago were presented. In May 1937, Ernest Quantrell, who was a member of the Board of Trustees since 1929, wrote to President Robert Maynard Hutchins offering an endowed fund of $75,000 to provide for several teaching awards. For Quantrell, quote, "The purpose of the award is to interest teachers in training not only scholars and research workers, but also young men and women for intelligent and public-spirited participation and leadership in business, civic, and professional life. I hope the award will result in constantly improving our faculty who teach undergraduates," end quote. The awards were to be based on nominations by our students of faculty members who had done particularly effective and indeed inspiring work in collegiate education at Chicago. Ernest Quantrell was an alumnus of the university, having entered the college as a freshman in 1901, where he encountered, as he later put it, quote, "one of the greatest faculties in the history of American education," unquote. While at Chicago, Quantrell was president of the Reynolds Club, a member of the Owl and Serpent, a letter holder on the track team, and a treasurer of his class. He left the university in 1905 without completing his degree, unfortunately, but gained employment in the bond department of a Chicago bank. And this proved to be a fruitful and prosperous career for him and led him to founding his own investment company in New York in 1928. From 1938 to 1952, the awards were given anonymously, but in the latter year, Ernest Quantrell agreed to the public disclosure of his name as the patron of the awards. Although Quantrell created the teaching awards, they bear the names of his father and his mother. Since 1954, their official title has been the Llewellyn John and Harriet Manchester Quantrell Awards for excellence in undergraduate teaching. Until his death in 1962 at the age of 81, Ernest Quantrell followed the university's Quantrell Award ceremonies at our annual assembly each year with considerable delight and pride. And the ability of the university and our students, with recurring and reassuring regularity, to be able to generate still more truly worthy candidates for his prizes seemed to please him greatly. We know now as the history of the Hutchins era at the University of Chicago, that's the era when Robert Hutchins was president from 1929 to 1951, we know now as the history of that era as it unfolded and as historians have had a chance to scrutinize the real record, apart from the myths associated with Hutchins, how important these prizes were for Chicago. For Quantrell was one of those alumni, and there were many in the later 1930s who were very skeptical of some of Hutchins' educational innovations, like, for example, the core curriculum, that seemed to posit academic learning as the exclusive goal of the college, to the detriment of other skills and experiences that would also be valuable for young women and young men in the course of their adult lives. In contrast, Quantrell believed that the university needed to train not only brilliant scholars, but also effective civic and professional leaders and committed and enlightened citizens. But Quantrell was also an alumni leader who was enlightened enough to take a chance on new ideas and who understood that universities must be dynamic instruments of change. He believed strongly that it was possible for the University of Chicago to be both intensely academic and supportive of the lives of our students in and beyond the classroom, and that it should be also profoundly devoted to changing and improving the conditions of our nation. Hence the rather hybridic quality of the commendation that I just read to you from Quantrell to Hutchins, in which he says, "I want to honor scholars who are great teachers and produce great students, but also to honor teachers who in their persons would offer, to use a rather old-fashioned word, noble ideals and noble role models, and who would inspire our students to be more enlightened and effective leaders of their communities and of our nation." The distinctive intellectual strength of our students, but also their strong and always impressive professional success over the last half-century, are perhaps the best and most satisfying signs that both of Ernest Quantrell's hopes have indeed been fulfilled. Since 1938, more than 300 Chicago faculty members have received the Quantrell Awards, and the awards have become and continue to be one of the highest honors that the University of Chicago can bestow on a member of the faculty. Members who not only excel in their programs of research, but who play a distinguished role in the formation of our curriculum. One of my distinguished predecessors as dean of the college, Ellen Simpson, aptly said of our prizes that, quote, during a chapter in the history of American higher education in the United States, which has been disfigured by the flight from teaching of the research professor, the resource professor, and the roving professor, the Quantrill Awards have recalled to us a better sense of proportion by combining the soft reproach with the solid reward. Others have reminded us that a profession which surrenders its chance to fire impressionable minds is courting its own sterility, but few have discovered such a tangible way of making that point, end quote. On behalf of the University of Chicago, I'm therefore very pleased to be able to present the winners of the 2022 Llewellyn John and Harriet Manchester Quantrill Awards for Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching.
Good afternoon. I'm Jay Ellison. I'm the Dean of Students here at the University of Chicago. And it's my privilege to introduce the faculty members who will present the faculty for the Quantrill Award. Jocelyn Malame, Associate Professor, Department of Molecular Genetics and Cell Biology, and the College, and Master, Biological Sciences Collegiate Division, will present the first Quantrill Award.
David Kovar is an innovative biochemist, a virtuoso cell biologist, and a passionate educator who inspires and challenges students to tackle fundamental cell biological concepts. His course, in the Biological Sciences on Protein Structure and the Inner Skeleton of the Cell, shows a sincere dedication to undergraduate teaching. He skillfully engages students by focusing on depth, by grounding lessons in experiments, and by including a much appreciated joke of the day. Students have praised him for his clarity, enthusiasm, and caring, all sentiments captured by one student comment, Dr. Kovar is very engaging and helpful, he is energetic and clear and excited about the material. Several students awarded him the highest possible praise. For example, David Kovar is hands down the best instructor I have had at this institution. Dean Boyer, I have the honor to present David Kovar for the Llewellyn John and Harriet Manchester Quantrill Award for Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching.
As a talented and accomplished cell biologist and educator, David Kovar inspires his students by digging deep into material and by emphasizing the experiments behind concepts and by stimulating student questions. He sets the standard for a scientist educator. David Kovar, on behalf of the University of Chicago, I now confer upon you the Llewellyn John and Harriet Manchester Quantrill Award for Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching.
Robert Schimmer, Alvin H. Baum Professor, Kenneth C. Griffin Department of Economics and the College, Chair, Kenneth C. Griffin Department of Economics, will present the next Quantrill Award.
Victor Lima teaches many economics majors their first course, Elements of Economic Analysis 1, and some majors take their last course, the Undergraduate Honors Workshop, with him. He is an inspiring teacher, helping students navigate rigorous mathematical content, deep economic questions, and the all-important mapping between them. As co-director of undergraduate studies, he's laid the foundation for and overseen an explosion of interest in the largest major on campus, now accounting for over a quarter of all majors. His superior teaching shows students the breadth of economic science and the importance of analytical and empirical rigor in addressing fundamental questions in the social science. Dean Boyer, I have the honor to present Victor Lima for the Llewellyn John and Harriet Manchester Quantrill Award for Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching.
Victor Lima teaches our students the broad applicability of economics, provides them with the analytical and empirical tools to pursue their studies in the most rigorous environment, and imparts a great enthusiasm for using economics throughout their lives. Victor Lima, on behalf of the University of Chicago, I now confer upon you the Llewellyn John and Harriet Manchester Award for Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching.
Deborah Nelson, Helen B. and Frank L. Sulzberger, Professor, Department of English, Language, and Literature, and the College, Chair, Department of English, Language, and Literature, will present the next Quantrell Award.
Julie Orlemansky is a scholar of medieval English literature and culture, fascinated with encounters between past and present and the intellectual innovations they make possible. Her research explores how the body was understood prior to modern medicine, and her courses open for student investigation the practices of medieval healing, as well as the importance of religion in medicine today. She energizes students of both medieval and contemporary literature by asking fundamental questions of literary voice and style. Her classroom vibrates with the excitement of historical strangeness, while her clarity of explication makes past worlds approachable without domesticating them. Her erudition, coupled with her passionate investment in the mentoring relationship, makes her classroom a space of vital and transformative inquiry. Dean Boyer, I have the honor to present Julie Orlemansky for the Llewellyn John and Harriet Manchester Quantrell Award for Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching.
Julie Orlemansky inspires our students with her intellectual passion and her great erudition. By building discussion on the broad and enthusiastic participation of all of our students, she makes them better thinkers, better interpreters, and better citizens of our complex world. Julie Orlemansky, on behalf of the University of Chicago, I now confer upon you the Llewellyn John and Harriet Manchester Quantrell Award for Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching.
Howard Nussbaum, Stella M. Rohrley, Professor, Department of Psychology in the College, Master, Social Sciences, Collegiate Division, will present the next Quantrell Award.
Joanna Rensmeyer is a scholar of modern Chinese history. Her courses on law and human rights in China combine a rigorous engagement with rich primary sources with an incisive pursuit of cross-cultural contextualization and understanding. In these classes, students learn not only about modern China, but also about the importance of historicizing their own cultural assumptions regarding rights, obligations, and the uses of the law. She illuminates the important principles of law and human rights with an engaged consideration of the legal process of deliberation during trials. Her lively in-class discussions invite students to connect historical debates and struggles with contemporary ones in China and beyond, showing them, as only the best teachers of history can do, that the past is always present. Dean Boyer, I have the honor to present Johanna Rensmeyer for the Llewellyn John and Harriet Manchester Quantrell Award for Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching.
Joanna Rensmeyer is a talented, inclusive, and inspiring teacher. In her classroom, she sheds light both on the singularities of Chinese history and on our common humanity, educating students through open dialogue and debate to become wiser citizens of the world. Joanna Rensmeyer, on behalf of the University of Chicago, I now confer upon you the Llewellyn John and Harriet Manchester Quantrell Award for Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching.
Young Ki Kim, Lewis Block Distinguished Service Professor, Department of Physics, Enrico Fermi Institute, and the College, Chair, Department of Physics, will present the next Quantrell Award.
David Schmidt has shown exceptional leadership both in his scholarly pursuits and his interactions with the students. His commitment to creating an open and welcoming environment in the classroom is reflected in the enthusiastic comments of his students. Quote, "Fantastic, extremely engaging." He gave us examples for the abstract topics and communicated his excitement for the material to us. A very entertaining and interesting lecturer who really values students' comprehension, constantly bringing up fascinating little tidbits for information that extend the topic we are learning about to the real world, unquote. His students are extremely grateful for his dedication to and thoughtful guidance in the Department of Physics. Dean Boyer, I have the honor to present David Schmidt for the Llewellyn, John, and Harriet Manchester Quantrell Award for Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching.
David Schmitz is honored and valued by his students and his colleagues for his inspiring leadership, his deep care of the physical sciences division community, and his outstanding excellence in teaching. David Schmitz, on behalf of the University of Chicago, I now confer upon you the Llewellyn John and Harriet Manchester Quantrell Award for Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching.
Hello and good afternoon. My name is Amani Mrayan, and I am a third year studying economics with a minor in data science. It's my honor to present this year's recipients of the Howell Murray Alumni Association Award. As one of the most prestigious undergraduate awards given by the university, the Howell Murray Alumni Association Award recognizes graduating seniors for their unique and outstanding contributions to co-curricular activities on campus. The students selected from the class of 2022 for this honor have actively helped better our campus community through their continued transformative efforts to promote and inspire a wide range of different campus groups and organizations. This year's awards will be presented by Andrea Hodgman, Interim Director of Alumni Engagement, Careers, and Travel. Please welcome Ms. Hodgman to the stage.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. It is my pleasure and an absolute joy to be here to recognize these outstanding graduates for their positive impact on our campus with the Howell Murray Award. As I call your name, please stand and be recognized. Alan Abbott. Thank you. Tara Bear. Shreya Bansal. Joe Blankson. Shannon Davis. Yara Ibrahim. Demetrius Johnson. Samantha Koretsky. David Leong. Bridget Patterson. Christina Parada. Ro Redfern Taubi. Justin Smith. Claire Steffens. Zachary Young. And Stephanie Zhang. Congratulations.
Good afternoon, friends, families, and my fellow graduating seniors. Thank you so much for being here today to celebrate the achievements of the class of 2022. My name is Isabel O'Malley Crone, and I am a graduating fourth year. I studied biology, French, and health and society, and am a member of Crown House in Renee Grenville Grossman. It is my honor to introduce to you our Class Day keynote speaker, Samira Ahmed. Born in Bombay, India, and raised in Batavia, Illinois, Ahmed graduated from the University of Chicago in 1993 with joint degrees, a Bachelor of Arts in English Language and Literature, and a Master of Arts in Teaching. Samira Ahmed is a New York Times best-selling author of Love, Hate, and Other Filters, Internment, Mad, Bad, and Dangerous to Know, Hollow Fires, and the Amira and Hamza series, as well as a Miss Marvel comic book miniseries. Her poetry, essays, and short stories have appeared in numerous publications, and she is the co-editor of the forthcoming anthology, Magic Has No Borders. Samira has also taught high school English in Chicago and New York City, worked in education nonprofits, and served on political campaigns. Please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker to the stage, Ms. Samira Ahmed.
Thank you, Isabel, for that lovely introduction. Thanks also to Dean Boyer and Dean Ellison for this invitation to speak today. And to the class of 2022, congratulations, you made it! And let's also give it up for your friends and family who supported you along this incredible journey. Loved ones, this day is for you too. I am deeply honored to share this occasion with you, but I must admit, I almost didn't make it. You see, when I first saw Dean Boyer's name pop up in my inbox, I immediately thought it was a fundraising appeal. Of course, being a graduate of the college and committed to the values of rigorous inquiry, I read the email twice so I could truly understand the assignment. That led me to the question which preceded so many of my college assignments. The same one you might have asked yourself when friends at other schools shared their weekend party plans and you were stuck in your dorm room reading Thucydides. Why me? Frankly, I was surprised to be asked. During my college years, I was a bit of a rabble-rouser. These grounds are where I first learned the absolute joys and necessity of protesting. I protested everything from tuition hikes, because obviously college should be free and student debt canceled, to Orrin Hatch speaking on campus not long after the hearings in which he'd accused Anita Hill of fabricating her harassment allegations against now Justice Thomas because she'd read The Exorcist, because somehow that seemed more logical than actually believing a woman's testimony. I continued to speak out against university decisions even when I graduated, on policies ranging from the shuttering of the Department of Education to inequities on the South Side perpetuated by university policy. I was surprised to be invited here because hadn't my burning letters to Presidents Gray and Sonnenschein gone on my permanent record? And then when you look to my time as a public school teacher and union board member who's been on strike, to my work suing the state of New York for inadequately funding public schools, or to my efforts as a writer who wants to diversify and expand the canon because our shelves should reflect our world, well, I'm basically the living mashup of an Alan Bloom, Milton Friedman nightmare. But this is the University of Chicago, where provocation is a virtue, where disagreement is not merely encouraged but expected, where one of the first lessons I learned about debating in class was, if someone asserts it, deny it. If someone denies it, assert it. Let arguments grow from more to more, and so be human life enriched. But being a Maroon also means that one is rarely satisfied with a simple answer, especially when it's so much easier to succumb to imposter syndrome. Perhaps, I thought, I was being asked to speak because, unlike previous college day speakers, I was an English major. In fact, my bachelor's thesis, which I wrote under the guidance of the wonderful Professor Jim Chandler, on the very riveting topic of Romantic Orientalism, specifically how tropes in Byron's poetry were influenced by Napoleon's conquest of Egypt, actually became the foundation of my third novel. Here I am, able to testify that yes, English majors, you can actually use your thesis for something practical. It might take 30 years, but I'm here to tell you that making money from your undergrad degree is not just for econ majors anymore. Then I wondered if maybe I was called on to speak with you today because I write a Marvel superhero. And because graduating from the University of Chicago can feel like the culmination of the hero journey. Called to adventure, you separated from your parents. You left the ordinary world for the mystical land of Hyde Park. You sought out mentors and realized that caffeine was the greatest of supernatural aids. You stepped forward into the belly of the beast, these very quads, where you were subjected to trials and tests. You faced many dark nights of the soul as you pulled all-nighters before OChem exams and poli-sci finals. You dug deep. You emerged, perhaps slightly bruised, but stronger, ready to grasp your reward and better your world. But let's be real. Writing comic books may be cool, but it hardly seems an erudite enough pursuit for a UChicago alum. I likely would have thought that as an undergrad because Miss Marvel is certainly not Plato or Proust. But my youthful snobbery couldn't have been more misplaced. And one of the benefits of not merely aging, but interrogating our assumptions, as Chicago compels us to do, is learning that admitting when you're really wrong isn't a weakness, but a strength, which is a very superhero lesson to learn. Heroism is deeply rooted in our psyche. From our earliest days of childhood, humans are drawn to superheroes, to heroic acts, to the choices that heroes make. Not because they are infallible deities, but because they are like us. Flawed, sometimes broken, unsure, struggling to make the right decision. Origin stories, the ones we hear over and over, aren't popular because they show us how someone like us becomes better. They're not merely about a regular person gaining powers, they are about how we can all be heroes, about how we choose to walk the path before us, how we can lean into our common humanity, choosing altruism over selfishness. The psychologist Robin Rosenberg, and I'm quoting her even though she went to NYU and taught at Harvard because not everyone can be perfect, suggested that superheroes usually experience one of three types of life-altering events. Ones I believe that we can all connect to: trauma, destiny, and chance. So with trauma, think Batman. We all know his origin story. His entire life is defined by witnessing the murder of his parents. Psychologists refer to this as stress-induced growth. That's how we, regular humans, react to trauma, often dedicating our lives to helping others, to service. That's Malala and the kids from Parkland. It's John Lewis. It's good trouble. The second life-changing force is destiny. Think the chosen one trope. That's Miss Marvel when her latent genes are activated. It's Aragorn, it's Frodo, it's King Arthur, it's Achilles, it's Buffy the Vampire Slayer, who, like so many of the heroes Joseph Campbell examines, very reluctantly accepts her responsibility, that she alone can carry the mantle. But then, in true decolonizing hero fashion, she subverts the trope by sharing her power. The chosen one is compelled to grow up, to grapple with their destiny because of the challenges that are thrown at them. Finally, there's simply chance, happenstance. Wrong place, wrong time. or right place, right time, depending on how you look at it. The classic example, of course, is Spider-Man. Peter Parker, imbued with powers after randomly being bitten by a spider, initially uses his newfound strength for selfish purposes. It's only when his actions indirectly lead to his uncle being killed that Peter reassesses his choices. When faced with random, adverse, often tragic events, the hero takes stock, chooses a different path, understands that with great power comes great responsibility. That's not just the lesson Peter learns from Uncle Ben. It's also Voltaire. It's the story of the sword of Damocles. So in reflecting on trauma, destiny, happenstance, forces that shape a hero, I was also reflecting on all of you and how those powers have uniquely impacted your generation, the world you've come from, and the world you're graduating into. The class of 2022's college experience has been marked by unprecedented social, political, humanitarian upheaval on a global scale, by the profound losses of this merciless pandemic. Over 525 million cases worldwide, over 6 million lives lost across the globe, over 1 million of those lives here at home. More than 250,000 kids in the US alone have lost a parent or caretaker. Those are our neighbors, our friends, our loved ones, us. The weight of all that has been stolen from you takes my breath away. And to not acknowledge that would be impossible, even cruel. In so many ways, the pandemic has been the defining event for this generation. You, the chosen ones, born at the dawn of a new millennium into a fantastic realm of possibility, an era when all of us 80s kids imagined robot butlers and flying cars. But it's been one outlined by so much turmoil, of civil rights being won and then stripped away because of bigotry, misogyny, homophobia, where Black and brown bodies, queer, female, trans, and non-binary bodies are being legislated against and warred upon, where people so used to their unearned privilege cry oppression when the rest of us are merely demanding equality. We live in a time where legislators would rather ban books than assault rifles. School districts and libraries across the country are pulling books from shelves because the stories and the characters make them feel uncomfortable. Some of those discomforting books being banned are mine. Stories I wrote with Hannah Gray's words rooted in my head. Education should not be intended to make people feel comfortable. It is meant to make them think. And yet so many deem rational thought, the directive to merely think, to question, offensive. The same ones who deny the existence of science, who believe that alternative facts and disinformation ought to be propagated and reported as if they are real instead of what they really are, gaslighting. We have been told that there are good people on all sides. We have been told to deny the evidence of our eyes. The University of Chicago is dedicated to rigorous debate, to freedom of expression, but freedom of expression doesn't mean you refuse to discern fact from fiction. It means you do not stay silent when faced with the policies of repression. It means you speak truth to power. It means you call a lie a lie. So, this speech has been a little bit of a downer so far. But at the University of Chicago, we don't deny reality. We also don't wallow. Where we find problems, we search for solutions through our dedication to rigorous inquiry, by leaning into our curiosity, by believing we can do better. And those are incredibly powerful and hopeful habits of mind. And while these last 22 years may have been tumultuous, they've also been a period of incredible ingenuity and discovery and advancement. From development to deployment, the COVID vaccine was the fastest ever created, a medical revolution on an unprecedented scale, a solution built on decades of groundwork by researchers working together with a common goal for the common good. In the simplest terms, We scienced our way to this very moment so that we could all be here celebrating you together in person. In your lifetimes, we've landed rovers on Mars that send us back selfies. We've peered back into the Big Bang. Some of your fellow undergrads helped discover a bright-lensed galaxy dating back to the infancy of our universe. Now, why is an English major so excited about science? Because I took physics for poets with the late, great Nobel laureate Leon Lederman and was filled with awe at the human ability to make the impossible real and cherished the chance to engage with and debate experts in a field completely outside of my major. Because the Common Core challenges us to look beyond our passions, to explore ideas that broaden our worldview. And it also gave me the tools to tell my Marvel editors that creating a rift in the space-time continuum in a university lab would have cataclysmic consequences that couldn't be stopped by shutting the lab door. And while your generation has helped uncover mysteries in the farthest reaches of our world, you've also done something profound here at home. In your lifetime, this nation built walls to keep people out, but you helped build bridges. Even when you were forced to physically distance from one another, you found ways to create community. Young people have harnessed the power of social media to build movements, to speak out against internment camps at our border and police brutality and the awful, devastating lack of common sense gun control. I firmly believe that it is your generation that will at last be the ones to say never again, not one more school shooting, not one more life lost to gun violence, and that your voices will be so strong, politicians will be compelled to pass a permanent ban on military-style assault rifles. You first witnessed and then participated in some incredibly historic moments for our nation, ones that at your age I hoped so desperately would come to pass. You were third graders when our nation's first Black president, and Hyde Parker, Barack Obama, was inaugurated, when he entered a White House built by the terrible toil of enslaved persons. And you were voters when Kamala Harris became the first Black, South Asian woman to serve as our country's vice president. You volunteered, you fundraised, you told millennials and Gen Xers and boomers that we couldn't ignore the mess that we'd made of the earth and that it was our job to clean it up too. You told us that if we weren't going to lead, then we should get out of your way. You demanded fair treatment in the workplace. You reminded us that growing old isn't an excuse to be closed-minded. You asked us to be a little less arrogant about our so-called certainties and outdated binaries. You've pushed us to question our awful tendency towards solipsism as individuals, as a nation. You've got moxie. Hold on to it. You are not the first generation to graduate into a world of uncertainties and blurred horizons, where there hasn't always been a clear path forward. But like so many before you, you will make your own road by walking. There will be times you stumble, where you realize you ventured too far in the wrong direction, when you'll wonder if you should turn back, if you could have chosen a path with fewer obstacles, and you will have to decide anew on the direction in which you are headed. You will make a choice. That's the hero journey. Though each superhero is written in response to a zeitgeist, they connect us across generations because of their universality. They help us find meaning. They help us know ourselves. That is why I write. That is why we read. Because stories connect us. Since our earliest days of language, we have sought to explain our world to each other and ourselves. Because as human beings, we have the ability to express that most heroic of qualities, empathy. But it is a choice to move against that lonely solipsism purposefully, willfully, against our inclination to think of ourselves as the center of it all, to move not inward, but outward towards one another. I listened to a lot of graduation speeches before today, and one thing I found baffling is the number of speeches that tell students that the purpose of education is to ready you for the real world. And the real world seems to be this nebulous, slightly terrifying, probably boring place beyond the ivy walls of your institution. But I couldn't disagree more, because when I left this place, it was with the words of John Dewey humming in my bones. Education is not preparation for life. It is life itself. To be guided by inquiry, to lean into curiosity, these are the values I took with me from Chicago. A directive to not merely ask questions, but to seek answers. To observe keenly, but also to act. To challenge the exclusionary status quo, to break free from old ways of thinking, to question the cultural hegemony, to be agents of change when we must change the things we cannot accept. And what is more real than that? Before I leave you today, I would like to give you one final, very Chicago assignment. Make no small plans. Aim high in work, in service, in hope. Remember that the forces that forge a superhero have forged you too. Being a hero is about choosing to believe in something greater than yourself. It means acting for the greater good. It means using your power and your privilege for a purpose. Stand up. Speak out. Tomorrow, you may well falter. You might not wear a cape, but never doubt that you can soar. Thank you.
Thank you, Samira, for those inspiring words. As our formal Class Day program comes to an end, I ask that you all take the final moments of this program to reflect on what we leave behind as we graduate tomorrow and what we will take with us as newly minted graduates of the University of Chicago. Tomorrow does mark the formal end of our time in the college. Come Sunday, most of us will no longer have those quintessential UChicago experiences like Allison described. We probably won't have many reasons to write about and discuss Hobbes, Marx, Du Bois. We won't have any more all-nighters in the red, although more than a few of us will have to settle for all-nighters in Wall Street high-rises. Our coworkers aren't going to care about our uncommon essay. Many of us are outspoken, if discussion sections the past 4 years have been any indication. It's easy to do that at a place like UChicago. But don't lose that as you go out in the world. Many of you will assume positions of important responsibility tackling many of the global challenges that David discussed. If the physics corps is any indication, we might even have some future presidents in the crowd. In those positions, we're all counting on you to be as thoughtful as you have been at UChicago, and as Samira said, to speak truth to power as necessary. And perhaps more importantly, while many of us are good at talking, it's equally important to be good listeners. Listen and learn from your family, like Zara shared. Listen and hold yourself accountable to your peers in the workplace, in your community, in your nation, and beyond your borders. Listen to the vast majority of people in this world who do not have the privilege of graduating from a school like UChicago. Listen in the way that students have asked this university to listen to its communities. That is the life of the mind, that will, that needs to stay with all of us after tomorrow. In bidding farewell, In bidding farewell to our time as undergraduate students, it is only fitting that we thank the ones who helped us get here. Please join me in giving a round of applause for all of the wonderful faculty and staff members that have shaped our time here at UChicago. Especially the frontline workers who have made this university function, especially during the pandemic. I mean residence reception staff, dining hall workers, librarians, graduate student workers, shuttle drivers, and custodians. We also stand here today because of the help of our communities outside of UChicago. Many of us are here today with friends, family, coaches, and mentors who have supported us long before we got to UChicago and will be there for us going forward. Please join me in giving them a special thanks to family and friends. And finally, please join me in thanking the staff members responsible for this afternoon's event, Preston Riley, Dean Jay Ellison, Dean John Boyer, and the hardworking individuals who had to set out all of those chairs that will make fine furniture pieces for the second years moving off campus. Please join me in making a final round of applause for all of today's award winners, the Dirt Red Brass Band, our student speakers, and to the keynote speaker, Samira Ahmed. And please remember that Class Day is only the first event in our graduation weekend. Graduates and their families are invited to join us tonight at 7:30 p.m. for a graduation dessert reception at the Museum of Science and Industry. Tomorrow morning is the 536th convocation, and conferring of degrees is at 9:15 a.m. right here on the main quad. And now the Class Day program has now concluded. Please enjoy some more music from the Dirt Red as we all depart. We look forward to seeing you all tonight at the museum and tomorrow at the convocation and diploma ceremonies. Thank you very much and have a great day.
Shopping anywhere, change the color of your